I'm speaking to Dr. Arvind Kumar, who has been tracking how Indian lungs, non smoker lungs, children's lungs have been turning black for over a decade now. He's a chest surgeon and is currently chairman of the chest department at Medanta. And so, thank you so much for joining us on India Today. You've been looking at the pollution levels that refuse to come down, and it's the same story year after year. This time around, there has not been much that the governments have done. And once again, we are in the same cycle of pollution that is having a heavy health impact on our health. So, what do you have to say?
First of all, thanks to you, Milan, and to India Today for this opportunity to connect with your viewers, and a very warm, though polluted, good morning to all the viewers. Uh, as you said, Milan, I'm a chest surgeon and I have been operating on chest since 1988, and almost 3 to 4 chests I open every day, and I get to see the lungs very closely as a part of my job. And in the last 15, 20 years, as you very rightly said, I have noticed a change in the color of the lungs of people. Lungs are pristine pink when we are born, but very sadly, these days we do not see a pristine, completely pink lung even in teenagers. Even teenagers have black deposits on their lungs. And when we go to adults, even the non-smokers have totally black lungs. And it's very frightening when you see that. And frightened with that, and wanting to share this information with the masses, we set up Lung Care Foundation and another vertical under Lung Care Foundation called Docs for Clean Air, way back in 2015 and 2017, respectively, with the purpose of sharing this information with the people. Because I realized at that time, and it's to a great extent true today also, that people equate pollution with a chemical problem, with an environmental problem, and they remain detached from it. They don't realize that it's actually a health issue. Chemical, environmental is, to my mind, a secondary issue. It is primarily a health issue. And in order to highlight the health angle of the problem of air pollution, we set up this Doctors for Clean Air group, where we wanted to harness the power of doctors as messengers for telling people that air pollution is a bad health issue. And if you don't do things now, actually, a lot could have been and should have been done decades ago, but it was not done. And the result of that we are facing today. And if we fail to do the needful today, our next generation will face a much worse future than what we are facing today. And the health ill effects, Milan, are horrific, horrifying, which I may tell you in the course of this interview. Milan.
Well, sir, you said that you have been doing this for a long time, and I questioned that what has changed. Do you think something has changed even today?
Milan, honestly speaking, nothing has changed. The first time we took up this battle in a major way was 2015, when I was on television all over talking about, showing that picture of pink and black lungs. We did an experiment in Gangaram Hospital where we put up an artificial lung and put
Yeah.
a exhaust fan behind it to, make air pass through it to show. And in 3, 4 days time, that turned black. So all those methods to convey this to people did have some immediate effect. But then 9 years down the line, when we see today, the situation is the same. The questions from media are the same. The answers from the specialists are the same. Everything has changed. Just the year has changed from 2015 to 2024. Otherwise, we are today where we were in 2015.
So
Sad.
how has this impacted the population, at least in Delhi NCR, over the years? Because have we become immune to this kind of pollution now, or have our lungs become even worse? When you say children, unborn fetuses, pregnant women, older people, teenagers, are having black lungs, which is like smoker lungs. Can you tell me, in a comparison, if we were smoking these many cigarettes in 2015, how many are we smoking today?
Well, you said, how has it impacted the people? Have we become immune to the thing? So I'll pick up this word immune. So, Milan, in terms of impact, there are two things. One is, what is the health impact of breathing this polluted air? And in terms of the immune word which you use, I will say people's response to this, this level of air pollution. So coming to first part, it's causing disastrous effects on the health of people. I'll quote just one example of a disease called lung cancer, which is something I have been dealing with for last 30 plus years. And I'll
Yes.
give you an analysis which I have often quoted on television channels. Many of your viewers must have seen this slide. 1988, what was the scenario? And 2024, what is the scenario? 95% of the patients of lung cancer were smokers at that time.
Yes.
Now, more than 50% are so called non smokers. Most of the patients were in 50s and 60s. Today, patients are in 40s, 10% in 30s, youngest patient 26 years. Hardly any women patient at that time. 40% of the patient today are women. When I look at lung cancer as a percentage of my total OPD attendance, the figure today is many times higher than what it was 30 years back. And when I look at color of the lungs of people, there is hardly anybody who has a pristine pink lung. So what is happening? More lung cancer is happening. It is happening in non-smokers. It is happening at younger age. It is happening in women almost as much as in men. So all that smoking effect. So earlier it was thought to be smoking, where there was a significant male-female difference, which was responsible for the difference in numbers. Now, air pollution affects men and women equally, and that's why today that difference is waning. And lung cancer, let me tell you, is one of the deadliest cancers in the body, with the least 5 year survival out of 20 cancers that you can see in the body. And imagine what will be the toll that it will take on the health of the people if we were to see an epidemic of lung cancer in the country in the next 20 years, which I can see on the horizon. This is just one part. You take cardiac diseases. So there is a rising incidence of premature hypertension in kids. There is an incidence of arrhythmias. There is a higher incidence of heart attack. You go to
Hmm.
brain, there is neuroinflammation and therefore hyperactivity and attention deficit, lower IQ, development of various brain problems, brain attack, that is a stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia. So whether you take up brain, whether you take up heart, whether you take up lungs, where allergy, asthma, TB, interstitial lung disease, lung cancer, COPD, emphysema, I mean, you name a disease. Now, obesity is being linked to this. Diabetes is being linked to this. There are reports that even breast cancer. So head to toe, Milan, there is no disease in the body which somewhere or the other does not have a link to air pollution.
Hmm.
Pregnant women, you said. So when a pregnant woman breathes in a polluted city, these toxins go to the fetus through the placenta. And in the first trimester, they are causing congenital defects. Second trimester, they are causing growth retardation, intrauterine death, premature delivery, whole lot of problems. And these children then have bronchiolitis, they have breathing issues, they develop pneumonia, they develop childhood cancers, their lungs don't develop to full capacity, their IQ doesn't develop. So if you look at it, it's causing devastating effects on the health of the people. And it's
Hmm.
there for all of us to see. There is enough Indian data. You talk to any doctor in the country, he will testify to the fact that he's seeing these health effects every day. This was one part. And the second part is that when there is any other issue, some religious issue, some this issue, that issue, people stop their life and want that issue settled. But when it's a question of the future of your children, people are accepting it, people have become immune to it. They have the, oh, what can we do? There's a kind of a resigned to fate kind of an attitude. We
Hmm.
have 800, 900, 1200 AQI in city of Delhi, and the
Yes.
city still goes on. I mean, I fail to
Yes.
understand this.
It's in fact the Delhi Chief Minister Atishi now called it a national medical emergency because it's not just Delhi, doctor. It's Haryana, it's Punjab, it's Madhya Pradesh. There are farm fires in Madhya Pradesh that have been tracked by NASA satellites. It's cities like Mumbai as well, where the AQI is steadily increasing. But again, politics and blame game continues to be played by various governments, and I'm not just talking about one government, but all governments, whether it's at the central level or at the state level.
Milan, I wouldn't like to comment on the very honorable name that you took just now because I have had several fights with this person where she spoke blatant lies on the television. That time I was in Gangaram Hospital and I have
Mm-hmm.
challenged her on the television for the lies that she was telling. So please, I don't want to comment on what. I don't want to go into political issue. I'm a doctor. I'm talking about it from a medical point of view. People are suffering, people are dying, people are, undergoing diseases. Their life is being shortened. All kinds of problems are happening, and this needs to be tackled as an emergency on a most urgent basis. Now, which party is doing that? That's out of my purview. I don't want to comment on that at all.
So, could you tell us some of the symptoms that we are currently looking at? Have they changed at all from over a decade? Because now we are seeing a direct impact of the rising air pollution. Is we see itchy eyes. Every adult, every child has redness in the eyes, soreness in the eyes. Is there any other symptom that you're looking at, or could you just, for the benefit of our viewers, describe these symptoms that they are currently facing?
So, Milan, symptoms will depend on immediate, you get exposed to 1000 or 1200 AQI with PM
Mm-hmm.
2.5 being 700, 800. So, there'll be some immediate effects which are on the surface organs. So, your skin, a lot of people are these days having itching and rashes on the skin.
Right.
As you mentioned, everybody's eyes are itchy. Even my eyes have a foreign body sensation, and people are regularly putting eye drops. There is itchiness, there is burning sensation, pain, feeling of congestion in the nose. People are developing sinusitis issue. There is continuous irritation, soreness, and pain in the throat. People are having difficulty in swallowing. There is breathing problem. So
Mm.
you are feeling choking sensation. A lot of people are now carrying inhalers and are taking on their own without even the advice of doctors because they know that when we go to doctors, they will prescribe those inhalers. So these are immediate effects that you have. Breathing difficulty, itching in the eyes, nose, throat, skin. These are instant things. And then you have effects on various organs. So commonest problem which is happening is that those who are asthmatic, COPD, emphysema patients, or those who have an asthmatic tendency, they are having worsening of their asthma symptoms. All of them are taking more inhalers and are having more problems. Some of them are
Mm.
even getting admitted for pneumonias and other problems. There is a known higher incidence of heart attacks after every peak of air pollution. There is a known higher incidence of brain attacks after these things. There are infertility issues which are reported, and there is a long list of cancers, lung cancer being at the top, but there is a long list of cancers which are related to air pollution. The reason is that the polluted air more or less is akin to cigarette smoke.
Mm.
WHO has
Yes.
called air pollution as a second tobacco epidemic because the same cancer causing agents and damaging agents which are there in the cigarette smoke are present in the polluted air also. So the effect will be the same. And for just for the knowledge sake, 22 microgram of PM 2.5 is equal to one cigarette. So if Milan, you are breathing in a city, yesterday the PM 2.5 was around 600 or so, divided by 22, and you, me, everybody in Delhi smoked about 25, 30 cigarettes yesterday without even touching a cigarette. So you can imagine the amount of massive damage that is happening to our bodies from head to toe.
Doctor, it's very, a serious concern, and we've been discussing it for so many years, and yet there isn't a solution in sight, whether it's reduction of, combustion fuels, fossil fuels, internal sources of pollution, vehicular pollution, farm fires. Everything just contributes all together during this time, at least in Delhi and in the Indo-Gangetic Plain region. We're looking at pollution in India, we're looking at pollution in Pakistan. It's the same Indo-Gangetic Plain area. But, sir, what can now be done by citizens? Because if left to the governments, we are still pandering, hankering, understanding what they can do. Or what can the citizens do to protect themselves?
Milan, you gave a long list of sources from where these pollutants are coming, but there is one major source of pollution which you probably forgot to mention, and that is coal-fired power plants. Milan,
Yes.
there are about 14 coal-fired power plants in the 4 to 500 kilometer radius around Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these coal-fired power plants are spewing venom through their chimneys 24 by 7. There is nitrogen oxides, oxides of sulfur, carbon monoxide, huge tons and tons of particulate matter which is being coming out of the chimneys. In 2017, there was a proposal to put some devices and some pollution control devices in the
Mm-hmm.
chimneys, which was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to trap the sulfur, they trap the particulate matter and leave out very clean kind of a smoke. This would have reduced the pollution significantly. Due to whatever cause, the implementation was deferred to 2019, then to 2021, then to 22, then to 24, and some of the places it is deferred indefinitely.
Mm.
Now, if we allow, and mind you, in terms of the amount of sulfur coming in the atmosphere, the contribution from these 14 plants is many hundred times more than the contribution from Parali.
Mm.
Each one of us keeps blaming Parali as if that is the only cause, or we keep blaming the crackers. But crackers, Parali put together on one side, and the sulfur coming from coal-fired plants on the other side, the dice is on the more damage is coming from the plant. So there is so many known sources which we are not controlling. There's so much of plastic tire burning which is going on in the periphery of Delhi, where all kinds of these household industries are there. Tons and tons of tires are burned there, and smog, black smoke comes out from that. All
Mm.
that is adding. So many places there are construction. If you go to Delhi airport, about 50-kilometer radius, even without so much of pollution, if you go there, it's all hazy all the
Yeah.
time. So much of dust is going there. Construction sites, all the dust is going there. The roads that we make, we always leave a kacha patch on the side from where the dust is rising. If we
Mm.
let so much of dust go into the environment, how can we expect the particulate matter to come down?
Mm. That is a big
So,
question.
so there has to be a joint effort by the people as well as by the government. The government has to take the decisions. The major source is fossil fuel.
Mm.
Solid fossil fuel, that is coal-fired power plant and use of coal. Liquid fossil fuel, that is petrol, diesel, and kerosene, which is from our vehicles and household use of kerosene. And gas. We all think that, the LNG or CNG or all these LPG, these are safe. These are safe from air pollution angle. But when it comes to addition of methane to the environment for climate change angle, they are equally unsafe. And ultimately, it gets adds carbon to the climate, and ultimately it comes back to the same cycle. So all these fossil fuels are adding to the carbon, which is the major problem leading to air pollution as well as climate change, because these are two sides of the same coin. You cannot dissociate the two. and
Hmm.
the cause is fossil fuel. And unless there is a effort to lock, stock, and barrel shift from that to cleaner sources, things will not change. We are talking of EVs these days. Now,
Yes,
EVs are good for the city because they will reduce the pollution here. But where is that electricity to charge that EV coming from? From a
hmm,
coal-fired power plant.
that's right.
So that, and mind you, air has no barrier. So if you have a plant at Dadri, 250 kilometer from Delhi, Delhi cannot escape ill effects of that. Milan.
That's right. Doctor, because my question to you is people think that, they can overcome this kind of disaster by exercise or by yoga or other things. Do you think that yoga or exercise can undo the effects of pollution that we are currently facing?
I want to ask any yoga practitioner that if I put acid on your skin by any amount of yoga, can you make your skin acid resistant? I'm sure no yoga proponent in the world can give yes for an answer. So, yoga, exercises, these are wonderful things for increasing your capacity.
Hmm.
When you live normally, you don't do exercise, you have a sedentary lifestyle, you don't do any yoga, you have your lung capacity reduced because the peripheral most parts of the lung are collapsed. When you do exercise, when you do yoga, you enhance your capacity. I 100% accept that, and I myself practice that. But to
Mhm.
say that by doing yoga, you can make your lungs as resistant to the cancer causing agents is wrong, is wrong, is wrong. Enhancement of capacity accepted, but resistance to the effects of pollutants 100% not accepted. So if anyone says that by yoga he can make himself resistant to pollution, I would like to challenge him for an open debate on TV by
So does
scientific
masks,
evidence.
so does
Okay,
masks
coming to
work?
mask. So when you have surgical mask, which we wear, which I'm having right now, or cloth mask, they do no good. The one which does good is a N95 mask, but
Mhm.
worn properly over the nose and over the mouth, covering entirely. You must be breathing completely only through the mask. Then it helps retain 95% of the particulate matter. Mind my words, particulate matter. All gases can still pass through and they
Hmm.
will have their deleterious effect, particulate matter. But ask, tell me, can the whole country be wearing N95 24/7 for the rest of their lives to protect themselves from air pollution? Is that a solution?
I don't think that's possible.
Yeah. Another thing you have not asked, but I will mention on my own because I'm always asked, that is air purifier.
Yes. My next
Yeah,
question was air
I
purifier
know,
with HEPA
I knew that.
filters.
I knew that HEPA filter, air purifier. So air purifier, what is air purifier? Air purifier is having a motor which sucks in air, which passes through multiple layers of HEPA filter and it is released back. So it's just like an air conditioner which also sucks in air, passes it through a coolant and then puts it back. So for air purifier to be effective, the first requirement is that the doors and windows of the room should be closed, number one. And number
Hmm.
two, the air handling capacity of the purifier should be, according to the size of your room. And number three, the
Exactly.
filter should be of good quality. Once
Hmm.
you do these, ensure these three things, and then you put this there, yes, it has the capacity to bring down the particulate matter substantially, substantially. But the effect will come only as long as you are inside that room and the doors and windows are closed. Now
Hmm.
tell me again, can the whole country lock itself up in their bedrooms with windows and doors closed for the rest of 2, 3, 4 months till these pollution levels will remain? So if
Absolutely
you
not.
ask me, can air purifier bring down 2.5 levels? Yes, it can bring down 2.5 level. But if the next question is air purifier a solution to the problem of air pollution? My answer is a big no. Air pollution is a public problem. Milan, If we don't get food, we can survive 21 days. If we don't get water, we can survive 5 to 7 days. But if we don't get air, we cannot survive for more than 3 to 4 minutes. So we need to breathe 24 by 7. You cannot carry your air purifier around you. When you go out, you will be breathing the same air. So,
Absolutely.
am I prescribing air purifier? Yes, I'm prescribing air purifier. When I do lung transplant, and my patient who's immunocompromised, who has new, very vulnerable lungs, when he goes out, I make sure that they have an air purifier because they are vulnerable. So when I have my post-operative cases, asthma cases, COPD cases, patients who are immunocompromised on steroids, patients with comorbidities, lung transplant patients, I do ask them to use air purifier because these are high risk vulnerable populations which need this benefit. But if you ask me, is air purifier a solution to air pollution? My answer is a big no.
There's also a question of affordability. Now, not
Of
everyone can
course,
afford an air
of
purifier,
course,
and it is not, financially viable solution for
not at all.
everyone at least.
Not at all.
And
There is
Doc-
initial cost.
yeah,
There is initial cost, and you need to, when you have PM 2.5 of 700, you need to change your filter every 3 months. And 99.9% of the people do not do that. And when you
yes,
have all kinds of carbon in your HEPA filter, instead of purifier, it becomes a dirty fire.
exactly. And that is, why
Buzz.
air purifiers are being bought by people who can afford them, but they rarely do work in a pollution scenario like more than 600, 700 PM 2.5s.
Nowhere in the world has it been shown to reduce the incidence of diseases. WHO also has not recommended it for as a solution to air pollution.
Hmm. Doctor, lastly, where do you think we are standing right now? You said that, fossil fuel burning should stop. It hasn't. Vehicular pollution hasn't reduced. Every time the temperatures are lower in Delhi, we don't get to see winter. We only get to see hazy pollution.
So I think there has to be a mass movement across the country of people that, well, there is no way that we can accept this quality of air. There should be progress, 100%. Progress has to happen, but progress can happen without pollution also, instead of with massive levels of pollution. And this Doctors for Clean Air group, day before yesterday, I had gone to Gorakhpur. I addressed
Hmm.
about 100 doctors there who've all committed. So this Doctors for Clean Air group, we are trying to organize doctors across the country and asking them to spend time and apprise people of this danger and kind of start a bottoms up kind of an approach where the people across the country start asking for clean air as a fundamental human right. When there will be demand for clean air by 140 crore people, I'm sure whatever measures are required will come fast and powerful.
So interestingly, Delhi is going to witness elections soon, and that's also going to happen in winter. Uh, Politically speaking, we have a parliament session coming up now in about a week, and all the parliamentarians, all the MPs, all the ministers, every top-notch person in the government is going to be breathing the same air. So, in some sense, pollution is actually an equalizer. You are breathing the same air,
Absolutely.
so am I.
Yeah. It's an equalizer to some extent, but those who are from the deprived sections, their body is weaker, their immunity is less, and their level of exposure, Milan, is higher. So they actually face much worse situation, whereas they are in a much worse situation to face that situation. So they have much worse outcomes than those who are able to protect themselves to some extent by various measures and are in a physically better position. And also when they fall sick, they have access to much better care than
Hmm.
the deprived sections who fall sick and often die without even getting proper treatment.
That's right. And this conversation would continue even more because in a sense, it seems like the solution lies at a larger level as well and at a micro level as well, but hasn't been able to be achieved by any government for that matter. And it continues to be the same year after year. Thank you so much, Dr. Arvind
Then
Kumar,
a
for
last
speaking to
sentence,
us.
I would say the
Yes,
solution lies in tackling air pollution the same way as this country tackled COVID.
COVID. Are you
When
saying
we
that?
were
Yeah,
faced with COVID in March of 2020, the country was faced with this dilemma whether we should go for lockdown or we should not go for lockdown. And the government took the most bold step that no, it's needed, it's got to be there. And we all know how it helped because if we hadn't had lockdown in March 20, the results would have been disastrous because we were least prepared at that time. By the time the next wave came, we were much better prepared. We have to have, and let me tell you that air pollution every year is killing more people than
then
COVID killed
COVID.
in its entire epidemic. Why are we not having COVID like approach to air pollution? That it's a serious health hazard. Other things can stop, other things can wait. This problem has to be tackled, whatever it takes. A lot of people say that the cost of doing things is very high. My answer is the cost of not doing things is much higher because of disease, disability, and death. And if you prevent diseases, disability, and death, I think the costs ultimately will turn out to be much lower.
So
Milan,
you're
thank you so much.
suggesting that there should be a COVID-like lockdown in areas where there is high levels of
No, I'm not
pollution?
suggesting lockdown. I'm suggesting an approach. See, there are two ways to approach a problem. You say, well, I know this problem is there. If this happens, if this happens, then we will do something about it. That's one approach. And the second is no, there is a serious problem. It has to be tackled. Whatever needs to be done, A, B, C, D, E, we do it, but we do not move.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor, for detailed explanation of what is currently going on, what we are facing, and we hope to someday see lesser amount of pollution and less politics being played on pollution. Because ultimately, it's you and I, it's the humans who are suffering, it's the children who are suffering day in and day out because of lack of implementation of laws to fight pollution crisis. And yes, it is a big, big health emergency that the government also needs to understand. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me your time.